Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the most genre-defying games of recent times. It really is an absolute masterpiece. However, it does have its flaws, and sometimes things aren't explained as well as they maybe could be. So I'm here to help you take your enjoyment and love of this game to the next level, with 20 things you probably still didn't know, or maybe you did know and you keep forgetting to do it. So this is your reminder. Anyway, no more waffling, let's get straight into it. I'm sure at many times throughout your adventure, your inventory has started to look a little bit like this. So many items you're not sure if you can or even want to get rid of. Quest items, legendary weapons, food supplies, alchemy supplies. It can and does all get a bit chaotic. However, there is one absolutely fantastic feature of the bags and containers in this game that isn't properly explained to you. As you see here with my alchemy pouch, all you need to do is press tab to open all your character's inventories side by side like this, and then drag the pouch from one inventory to the next, and it will automatically collate all items of that type in one convenient location. This can be done with the alchemy pouch, the camp supplies pouch, the keychain, and perhaps even more bags that I have neglected. In just a few seconds, you can see I have collated 61 keys, 49 alchemy ingredients, and then just for good measure, I decided to chuck most of my quest items in a backpack as well to keep the clutter out of the way. This is going to make your inventory so much neater, so much more manageable, so the next time you do acquire a bunch of new armor and weapons, you'll be more willing to come in here and upgrade your party rather than just leaving it to get messier and messier. The second tip is just to make sure that there is always someone in your party that knows Longstrider. As this is a ritual spell, it can be cast outside of combat for free, it doesn't require concentration, and it lasts until long rest. Cast this on your entire party and you will now do significantly better in every combat encounter, because it will give you so many more positional and mobility options in combat. Ideally, you want to teach this spell to your wizard like Gale or another character that has spell slots, because you can upcast Longstrider, which will allow you to just apply it to everyone all at once, and it still won't require a spell slot. But here in this example, as I have it on my Warlock Will, I have had to cast it 4 individual times. Just remember you do this after each long rest, and it will make every fight tremendously easier. And just quickly, in that same vein, a free bonus tip for you here, try and also have a character that knows guidance, because guidance can be used in every single conversational and ability skill check in the game, which can easily be the difference between a success and a fail, and just like Longstrider, outside of combat, completely free to use. The third tip on this list is probably the most known one, however I can almost guarantee that most of you still forget to do it. And that is to send things back to camp. Especially all your food supplies. Anything that counts as food, just send it to camp. It will automatically go into your traveler's chest and you can use it on long rest. You don't even need to take it out again when you do teleport back to your camp. And another few great things you can do, like you see here, end game, I have endless amounts of money and it significantly weighs me down. So split your money into 2 piles, send the majority of it back to camp for safekeeping, and just travel with a portion of it to keep everything nice and light. Another thing I like to do is send back all of my epic and legendary items, and then when I'm next in the mood to do a bit of character management, I can head back to camp, open up the traveler's chest, drag everything into one of my character's inventories, and sort them all out there. Next up, have you ever been running along and all 4 members of your party fail a survival check? Well, you probably already know that that means there's a dirt mound there. However, did you know you can still dig around the area even if you didn't reveal the dirt mound? And as long as you're digging in near enough the correct place, you will uncover it and still be able to loot it. So just pay attention to when them failed skill checks start popping up and you'll know exactly where you need to go and dig. Tip number 5 is to periodically go and check your character's reactions and make sure you are happy with the settings. Usually it's fine to let them trigger automatically. However, there are more than enough exceptions that this is definitely worth calling out. For instance, even though it doesn't say it here, Luck of the Far Realms is only usable once per long rest. And exactly as it says, when you make a successful attack roll, you can change that into a critical hit. So you want to tick this box and make sure it asks you when you are happy to use it. That way you can save up that guaranteed crit for when you really need it. In the same vein, Charm is another one you may not want to trigger automatically. Charm will prevent an enemy from attacking you, but guess what that means? It means they're going to attack your next closest ally. So if the character whose charm reaction has just triggered is still on full health, and they've got an ally right next to them on the brink of death, you definitely do not want to try and charm that enemy, because you've probably just signed the death sentence of your friend. An even more prominent example is Reckless Attack. You can of course trigger this yourself by using the Reckless Attack ability. However, it will also ask if you miss an attack if you want to change a normal melee attack into a Reckless Attack, effectively rolling another dice and hoping that you hit your enemy. The only problem with this is enemies will also have advantage against you. So it tends to be best to choose when you want to use your reckless attacks rather than letting the game use this reaction for you. And finally, before we move on, just to show you exactly how key it is to stop your reactions from using automatically, we have a brilliant example live in action here. Karlach has killed an enemy, and therefore she now has Executioner active, meaning her next attack is guaranteed to be a critical hit. However, she has also just critically missed her enemy. If I had this on automatically react, she would have just wasted Executioner and she would have just critically missed a critical hit. However, because I have told the game to ask for confirmation, I can say do not react, and on the next hit, when we absolutely smash it out the park with a 29 and our enemy doesn't save against our menacing attack, we can now activate Executioner and deal a tremendous amount of damage. And that is why, more often than not, you want to turn off reactions and choose when it is right for you. Tip number 6 is to stop neglecting potions and elixirs. Whether you're a hoarder who feels like you should never ever use them, or whether you just love money and want to sell everything. Using Bone Cloak's Apothecary as an example here in Baldur's Gate, there are many potions and potion ingredients on offer. And throughout the game, you will be finding plenty of alchemy ingredients. And with these ingredients, you can craft some absolutely deadly concoctions that will easily turn the tide in your favor and make very unfavorable battles an absolute walk in the park. One of my favorites, hands down, is the Potion of Speed. The two main reasons this is so much better than just using the spell Haste is because firstly, you don't have to rely on a class that has Haste. And secondly, haste is a concentration spell, so should that condition end early if the concentration is broken, your characters will then become lethargic before you have planned for it. With these 2 points in mind, even though the Potion of Speed only lasts 3 turns, it's far more consistent and you can plan ahead. There is a plethora of ridiculously strong elixirs and potions. At this point, I'm now wanting to just waffle on about some of the best combinations, where to buy the best ingredients, all that stuff. But honestly, that could be a whole video in and of itself. So if you would like me to call out the best potions and elixirs, where to find them, how to farm them, all that good stuff, let me know and I will make that its own separate video, because I don't want to bog you down here when we have so much more to cover. Oh, and another quick tip to add on the end of this before we move on to the next one. It is practically impossible to farm most ingredients in the game due to the fact that enemies and loot do not respawn. However, shop inventories do replenish. So as I'm doing here, feel free to long rest and come back to a shop the next day and their stock will have replenished. And what's even better than that is it's not always the same. So if they don't have a particular potion or ingredient one day, they may have it the next. Just worth keeping in mind if you're trying to look for a specific recipe or ingredient. As we're already on the topic of ingredients, when you are crafting potions, elixirs, grenades, whatever, make sure that you don't just use any when it says any salt, any ashes, whatever the recipe calls for. As you can see here as an example, there are 6 different ashes, and one of them is the ashes of hyena ear. And as you can see, if we take the Elixir of Heroism as an example, this calls for Pegasus feathers and any ashes. The Elixir of Heroism is a fantastic elixir. However, if you have Ashes of Hyena Ear available, you obviously want them to go towards your potion of speed, so don't go accidentally using them to craft something else. And you may be saying to me, well, that's all well and good you telling me, but how? How do I do that? I have your answer right here, my friend. This is what you do to make sure you are always crafting with the ingredients that you want to craft with. Firstly, as we just did, you'll go into the Alchemy tab, you'll check what you want to craft, and you'll see what it requires. For instance, if we use the Potion of Animal Speaking, it requires an essence of acorn truffle and any salt. And at the moment, it's using the salts of Rogue's Morsel, which can also be used to create a Potion of Healing. So now what you're going to do is go into your inventory and open up 2 different alchemy pouches. One pouch should contain all of your alchemy ingredients. In the other, specifically put what you want to craft with. So we've obviously got the essence of acorn truffle, and as the basic antidote is worthless to me at this point in the game, I'm going to put in the salts of mugwort. Now we're going to drop the bag with all the other ingredients in it, and as you can see, it will now allow me to craft using the specific reagents that I want to use. Now, I appreciate this does sound like a little bit of a ball ache, and I agree. I wish you could just click on it and it would say to you, oh, these are all your available salts. Which one do you want to use? Hopefully that will be coming up in a patch, because I hate that you do have to do this. But trust me, I've tried a few different methods now, and this does seem to be the quickest and easiest way of making sure you use the ingredients that you actually want to use. Now that your inventory is so much easier to manage and it's nice and neat because you're using bags and you're sending things back to camp, the next tip is to stop selling so many things. Obviously, sell all your junk and sell everything that is truly worthless. But at the end of the game, you get so much gold that you are much better off keeping almost everything just in case, and just trying to be good to future you by neatly organizing it in different bags in your traveler's chest. You just never know when you are going to need that random alchemy ingredient you haven't touched for the whole game, or when that bottle of grease or water might come in handy. There are so many random uses for so many sleeper items in this game that unless it's just a straight up worse version of a weapon or a piece of armor, or if it genuinely is junk with no flavor text, try to always keep it just in case. You will not be wanting for money, trust me. I've got like 80,000 gold at this point, and I'm pretty sure I can physically never ever spend that. Tip number 9 is about the power of the right click. Now, I must admit, I don't know what button halts all actions on the controller, but if you are playing with a keyboard and mouse, simply right-clicking will make all characters stop what they are doing and freeze in place immediately. So if you are running along somewhere and suddenly you trigger an unexpected skill check, just get in the habit of right-clicking in case someone may have discovered, or not discovered, a trap. And then when you can determine where that noise came from and which character triggered it, you can take it from there and get the rest of your party members to try and succeed the skill check, just in case there is a trap lying in wait. The amount of times the right click has stopped me from walking into blast mines, pressure plates, trip wires must be into the dozens by now. Especially for your first playthrough when you're still learning where everything is in the game, right click is truly one of your best friends. Any Karlach lovers in the chat, this next tip is for you. If we take a look at her character card and scroll all the way down to the bottom of the notable features, you'll see unarmored defense. This is something that is very easily forgotten about barbarians, so I wanted to include it just in case you, like me, forgot that this was a thing. Firstly, as it says, your body is as resilient as any armor. Whilst not wearing armor, you add your constitution modifier to your armor class. So as you can see here, just simply wearing clothing with an armor class of 10, Karlach has an armor class of 15. And therefore equipping heavy armor is only going to make her a little bit tankier. But the more important reason why I bring this up is the second part of flavor text in the unarmored defense. Wearing heavy armor impedes all positive effects of your rage. So if you decide to frenzy to get that extra bonus attack and the extra DPS that comes along with it, If you are wearing heavy armor to make Karlach a tank, you have effectively nullified yourself and it's going to do nothing. However, if you do happen to find some really tasty medium armor, you can still get Karlach to wear that. For instance, the armor of agility here is amazing. It makes her armor class so high that it's still better than wearing clothing. But as a rule, with barbarians, never ever put on heavy armor. Do not spec into it. It is completely pointless and a waste of time. Tip number 11 is a very overlooked, very powerful level 5 spell called Seeming. This will allow you to put a disguise on your entire party. And there are a few reasons why this is so powerful. I'll come to the most important reason in just a second, but firstly, it means you can do awesome things like seeing what Will would look like as a tiefling. And seeing the main cast of characters in different forms is endlessly enjoyable. However, for some more practical uses, let's take a look at Githyanki Karlach here and her silver sword of the astral plane. This is a Githyanki weapon that she has been using for the entire playthrough. And because of the fact that she is disguised as a Githyanki, she can then take advantage of its racial passive features. So she will deal an extra 1d6 of psychic damage, and has advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws, resistance to psychic damage, and cannot be charmed, despite the fact that you and I both know Karlach is a tiefling. And I'm sure that far more creative people than I, armed with this information, will be able to do so many weird and wonderful things with the spell Seeming. Just one more example here. We can have Gale turn himself into a halfling and then cast Reduce, and you can do this on the whole party to get them through the tiniest of spaces. And also, let's face it, running around as a party of halflings is hilariously cute. So when you get there, make sure someone learns Seeming. It's a fantastically clever, very slept on spell. Next up, if you have opted for a Dark Urge playthrough, is how to get the almighty Slayer form very early on in the game. This gives you a ridiculous amount of health and some really cool, really powerful abilities too. And the earliest point at which you can get Slayer is by killing Isabel when you reach the Last Light Inn, after taking a long rest at camp and speaking to Sceleritis Fell. However, doing this will lock you out of a lot of quest lines and kill many major characters. So what you want to do is wait until you have finished this area and the assault on Moonrise Tower has started. Then teleport back to the Last Light Inn and declare war on Isabel. There will only be a very small amount of characters left here, and the only one of even minor importance is Damon. However, if you have been exploring everything thoroughly, you will have already found all of the infernal iron needed to upgrade Karlach's heart to the maximum that Damon can do. You have now completed his part of her quest. He is redundant and he can die. All the other characters are just generic guards and big creepy tentacles. Once this fight is complete, go back to camp, rest up, and Sceleritis Fell will bestow upon you the Slayer form. And you can now use this once per long rest for the entire game, with only very minor repercussions. The next tip is about the incredibly versatile, really early on level 2 transmutation spell Enhance ability. This will give you advantage on all dice rolls. And if you don't know what that means, advantage means you get to roll 2 dice and choose the higher of the 2 options. It isn't a ritual spell and it does require a level 2 spell slot each time you want to switch ability. But every time you do any kind of skill check, it will ask you if you would like to switch to enhancing the ability of the current skill check to make sure you have advantage in every single situation. Be it picklocking, persuading, intimidating, stealing, anything in the game, this one ability will let you roll 2 dice for every single check in the game at the cost of only 1 level 2 spell slot. And just so you know, this can be learned at level 3 by bards, clerics, druids, and sorcerers. Tip number 14 is to make sure you always have something like Enhance ability or Bardic Inspiration on whenever you're traveling around. If we take a look at our character card, Perception is what you need to observe your environment and spot hidden details, and that is under the Wisdom tree. So we can now head into enhanceability. We can apply Owl's wisdom so that we have advantage on all wisdom checks. And now as we're walking around exploring the environment, it is practically impossible for our main character to miss any hidden detail. Another great alternative is Bardic Inspiration, because as you can see, that will add a 1d10 to your next attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. And yes, this does work for perception. So as you can see here, Gale did manage to succeed his first perception check, and he spotted something. However, then he did lose Bardic Inspiration and fail the second check. So we'll send over our Bard, and sure enough, she immediately spots the hidden switch, and in we go. Similarly to potions and elixirs, tip number 15 is to always save your scrolls. Especially late game, there are some insanely powerful ones. Having every character, even non-spellcasters, being able to cast level 5 and 6 spells at will is insane. I just realized I said at will. I don't mean at will. Like what did Will do wrong? No, I mean like whenever they want. No, Will, it's okay. Leave Will alone. Will's fine. Will's there like, why are you casting him at me, you bitch? However, talking of Will, let's use Will as an example. As he is a warlock, he can only cast 3 spells before he needs to rest. At lower levels, he can actually only cast 2. So giving him some crazy powerful scrolls like Cone of Cold and Disintegrate mean that he continues to be effective even in really long drawn out combats. And what's even better, another thing that most people probably know but may have forgotten is that wizards can learn these spells. If you right click one, you can then pay a small fee to add it to their repertoire for the rest of the game. So there you go. If he wants to, Gale can now use Sunbeam at will. He just knows that spell. So scrolls are fantastic in so many different situations. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Don't hoard them and just never use them, but equally don't sell them. Make use of them. They are a tool to be used. Throughout this whole video, I've been trying to find you some decent footage of me failing an important skill check so that I could actually show off tip number 16. And of course, I am getting infinitely lucky and I am hitting every single skill check I'm trying to fail. Because this tip is to not be afraid to save scum. Yeah, in some situations it could feel like cheating, and obviously use your own judgment on what you feel is fair. I'm purely using this example because every single trap I tried to fail at disarming, every single speech I tried to fail at persuading, it was just success after success. So let's take Gale here and try and throw these 2 enemies off the ledge with Thunderwave. Oh no, one of them hasn't gone off, and now the fight is a bit harder than it needs to be. So we'll just quickly reload and try that again. And sure enough, they have both fallen to their death. Well, nearly. Bad example, but you get what I mean. The gist of what I'm trying to say in this tip is you're only playing this game for your enjoyment, right? And if you really want to see how something plays out and dumb bad luck has made you miss out on a really significant conversational skill check, just reload and try again. There's no harm in it. As long as you're not trying to save scum every single 1% skill check, then I think we're okay. As for the next tip, did you know that you can shoot switches, levers, buttons, etc. with ranged attacks? And so that you're not wasting throwables, consumables, or spell slots, a fantastic way to do this is bows and crossbows. The first time I came to the specific bridge here that I'm using for this example, I thought you had to split up your party and have 2 on one side and 2 on the other, and I had 2 groups of 2 simultaneously exploring both areas. Now I realize you can just stay together and just shoot the damn levers with your crossbow. It really is that simple. Baldur's Gate 3 is a game that gives you so much freedom to think outside of the box. And we have been forced to think inside of the box with so many games for so long now that it's really hard to actually do that. If you think of a really silly, dumb, obscure way to complete something, try it. Chances are you probably can do it. The fact that I could just sit here shooting these levers with my crossbow, going backwards and forwards, is absolutely fantastic. And just one of the many examples and reasons that this game is so beautiful. So now that you know that, go wild with it and see to what extent you can push the mechanics in this game too. Tip number 18 is that Minsc is recruitable. I want to keep this as spoiler free as possible, just like with all my videos. So I won't show you how to get here, how to complete it, anything like that. Just know that when you get near the end of the Harper questline with Jaheira, when you get to this fight, knock Minsc out instead of killing him. And at the end of the fight, you will be able to recruit him. But even more important than that, one minor spoiler during this lovely conversation with Minsc here. Not only will you have recruited Minsc, you will also have recruited Boo. Boo is an absolutely adorable miniature giant space hamster. And by completing the High Harper quest line correctly and not murdering Minsc, Minsc and Boo will join your party for the rest of your journey. And even though it is quite difficult incorporating a new companion into your party this late in the game, when you've probably already got your force set in stone, Boo is so adorable. Do it for Boo. Even if you never use Minsc, just go and get Boo. He's so damn cute. The penultimate tip for this video is to subscribe to Dom's Roundtable. If you have learned even one new thing in this video, that makes me so happy. My job is done. I am here to educate, entertain, and serve. And if I have done that for you today, please consider subscribing to the channel. It means so much and it helps so much more than I could ever express. And thank you so much to everyone who does. And also, while you're down there subscribing, if you wouldn't mind liking and leaving a comment as well, that would mean the world to me. Because there are plenty more Baldur's Gate 3 videos to come, along with lots more guides and fun videos for your favorite video games and franchises. And finally, tip number 20. This is very situational, so it's also very easily forgettable. But did you know that you will not be able to use your attacks of opportunity if you end turns with your ranged weapon equipped? So if you do have a character that favors their ranged weapon, it is completely free, doesn't require an action, doesn't even require a bonus action. Make sure you switch back to your melee weapons when every single one of your party ends their turn. Because then, if an enemy comes near you and decides they want to run away again, you will be able to use your attacks of opportunity. And with that, my friends, that is my top 20 tips of the things in Baldur's Gate that you probably still aren't doing and should be. So go and do the things. I hope you've enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it. And as always, all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.